Reimagining Success, episode 207. You're listening to the Reimagining Success podcast, where we help you design a business and a life that allows you freedom from the 9 to 5. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg, ex-corporate good girl, now a business mentor and coach, author, mum of 2, and I'm here to help you create more freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. Now let's get started with redefining success outside of the 9 to 5. Hello. Welcome to November. I hope you've had a good Halloween, not too scary, and that the heating is now well and truly on. If you're listening in the Northern Hemisphere, I know I have some listeners down there in some warmer parts of the world, so I hope you're enjoying the early days of spring and summer as well down there on the other side of the world. But November, December, it is an exciting time, still time to work on those goals for the year, but also, of course, to begin to think about Christmas, dare I say it, perhaps Thanksgiving over there in America, and having that time to recharge, reflect, take a step back and look ahead to next year. So we'll definitely be doing some of that as ever. November, though, we're still going strong with building that business outside the 9 to 5. And there are a few exciting things coming up if you're listening to this live. We have my book launch coming up. Yes, the sequel, I suppose, to Leaving the Corporate 9 to 5 will be coming soon. Fingers crossed. I can't commit quite yet to a date, but it's definitely imminent. Outside of the 9 to 5, a practical guide on how to build a profitable business that gives you more freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. So if you remember, Leaving the Corporate 9 to 5 was all about that step of leaving the corporate 9 to 5, strangely. This next one is really a much more of a how-to guide, how to do it. So the first one was a collection of stories, inspiring, a few little tidbits, some tips, but now it's really, okay, this is how you do it. So we'll be talking about that next week. We also have a 2023 business strategy session coming up, so do get in touch. You can message me on LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever we're connected, or you can email me at podcast@onestepoutside.com to get the details of that session. It's a session we run every year. If you're one of my clients, you'll be getting access to that anyway if we're working together already. But otherwise, it's a great way to set yourself up for the next year. So today, we're looking at the 5 pillars of building a life and a business outside the 9 to 5. And this may or may not be familiar to you if you've been part of my community for a while, but it's so core to what I teach, what I believe, what I experience. And I don't believe I have an updated episode on this topic. So I wanted to create one which allows me then to send that to people in need. So the 5 pillars of building a life outside the 9 to 5. The background for this is the following. When I quit my corporate job back in 2013, and in fact, that book, Leaving the Corporate 9 to 5, is a bit of a symptom of that, or a manifestation, let's put it that way. I really did think that was my big, brave decision. Ta-da! I've quit my job. I'm so incredibly brave and courageous. I'm going to be authentic and have freedom and independence. Those are my 3 core values. I was traveling the world. I really was living my best life. As wonderful as that was, it turns out that making that decision, as much as it is a massive decision, it's a huge step, it does take a lot of courage and commitment, it is just a very first step. So deciding that you want to create a career and life for yourself outside the 9 to 5, to perhaps quit your job, to start a business, to reimagine success, is a fantastic start to what will be a lifelong journey. So if you're at the beginning, I don't want to put you off, but I think most of you, many of you perhaps have evolved with me. The audience has evolved with me, and I, of course, quit my job almost 10 years ago. We'll have to do a really big celebration next year, I think, for the 2023. But so through the twists and turns of my own transition, of course, if you don't know my story, I quit my corporate marketing job back in 2013. Initially, I was doing consulting. I kind of fell into that for a couple of years. Fantastic, really great step in the right direction. But I still was in that corporate world, commuting, pretty stressful, in the same kind of industry and the same corporate environment and so on. I didn't quite have the freedom, independence, authenticity that I was striving for at that time. Now, at that moment, I was single. I didn't have anywhere to live. I didn't have a partner, didn't have a lot at all. I was very much flying free, which was fantastic. And my aspiration was to create freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment in the sense of being able to have that digital nomad lifestyle, travel the world, go on adventures, be free completely in every aspect of that word. As you may or may not know, things have changed a little bit, and as you might expect if you don't know, so things have evolved. I did that consulting for a couple of years. I then realised that wasn't quite the reason why I quit my job, so I sort of quit that insofar as you can quit your own business, and went off on those adventures. I discovered coaching, I trained and certified as a coach, and then I tentatively began to, or actually not so tentatively, because I very decisively put up a site saying, hey, I'm a coach. But as it turns out, saying, hey, I'm a coach on your website doesn't a coach business make. Does not mean you'll have suddenly hundreds of clients flooding your way. My credibility was all in luxury and beauty and corporate and FMCG, CPG, as you call it in America, fast-moving consumer goods. And it certainly wasn't an instantaneous process to steer that ship of my personal brand in a new direction. But I discovered coaching, I integrated that ultimately into my business so that now I combine the positive psychology, the resilience, the mindset, the life coaching piece with the more concrete, tangible elements of business strategy, business models, branding, and personal branding. I love it, being multi-passionate, multi-potentialite, renaissance woman, whatever you want to call it. And for me, it really is the best way to support myself, certainly, and the best way to support you as you navigate that transition. So these 5 pillars that I talk about are 5 key areas that I've identified over those almost 10 years now, as of the time of recording, that I have had to focus on, that I have had to work hard on, and that I have supported my clients and community through over the past several years, again, almost a decade, if not beyond. So these 5 key areas are areas you need to focus on to make your business and, importantly, your lifestyle viable for the long term. And if you're lacking in one or more of these areas, and again, this is not a one and done, it will evolve, so you can be high on one and then after a few years that might decline and vice versa, you're not likely getting the results you want. And we will look at that in a couple of episodes as well. But importantly, of course, it's not just about financial success. It's about creating something that's meaningful, enjoyable, manageable in the context of all the other things and people that matter in your life. And really getting an idea, of course, of where you are in each pillar, each area, is a great place to start to help you identify what to focus on going forwards. By the way, I do have a scorecard that talks you through this and gives you an assessment of where you are. Whether you're just coming to this new, you haven't quit your job yet, or you're further along, perhaps you've even done the assessment before, I'd really encourage you to do it again because, as I said, it can and will evolve. It's a bit of a roller coaster journey, as we know. And for example, you might have a super clear business model that's hitting your goals, but then perhaps months or years later, you're evolving your financial or lifestyle goals. In fact, when I was talking about my life changing, I failed to get to the point that I was trying to make, which was that I started with that digital nomad aspiration, but I then fell in love. I settled back in London. We had a daughter. We moved down to the south coast. In fact, we had a son there along the way as well. So my life now looks very different. And of course, my definition of success has broadened, deepened, evolved. And so the business model that was previously supporting that kind of single, carefree digital nomad lifestyle is now supporting, hopefully, still elements of carefreeness and adventure. And I'm certainly trying to bring back elements of that. But in the meantime, allows me to work from home, pick up the kids if they are inevitably ill, especially over winter, and above all, be present with them and have really lovely family time with them as well, while still having my freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. So that's how it's evolved for me. But again, the scorecard, the assessment, it's a free tool. It's a PDF you can download at onestepoutside.com/scorecard. onestepoutside.com/scorecard. But to talk you through, of course, the 5 pillars, the first one is identifying your personal definition of success. Second, we have cultivating confidence and resilience. The third is to choose the right business model. And again, that can and will evolve. The fourth pillar is to build an effective personal brand. And the fifth pillar, coming full circle, is to design flexible work-life integration. So right from the big picture of defining success for you, defining your vision, your goals, through to working on your mindset, your grit, your resilience, your confidence, choosing very tangibly, concretely your business model. What are your criteria? Who are you going to work with? What are the products and services you're selling? What does that whole ecosystem look like? Building your personal brand. What do you want to stand for? How are you going to bring that to life in content you're creating? And how are you going to build your credibility and maximize your visibility? And finally, again, coming full circle, being super clear on what matters in your life and anchoring that big vision and the incredible strategy you've come up with in your day-to-day life, your day-to-day routine, because that, I think, is where I am one of the many places where I'm different in terms of my approach. It's all very well to have that beautiful, amazing vision. You also have to anchor it in your day-to-day habits and routine. On the other hand, if you only have the routine and you've got your hustle, do productivity, it doesn't matter how fast you're going if you're heading in the wrong direction, as Stephen Covey said. Again, if you have a really ambitious, audacious goal, if you don't believe in that goal, if your confidence isn't there, if every setback knocks you down and you give up before you even have a chance to get results, you're not going to get anywhere either. If you have the wrong business model, if your pricing is wrong, if you're working with the wrong types of clients, that's never going to work, right? If you have the right business model, but you're not actually out there, yes, dare I say it, promoting yourself, building your credibility, getting people to believe in what you believe, attracting those people who share the same values, building your online presence and offline by all means, and so on, then that's not going to work either. So if you have one and not the other, there's something missing, and that's probably why things aren't quite going to plan. So a few questions, you can ask yourself, and again, check out the scorecard. The first one is really, are you actually crystal clear on what matters in your life and in your business? So yes, having a vision for what your business is, but importantly, having the bigger picture of why do you want to escape the 9 to 5? What are you trying to build? Why is this work-life integration so important to you? What is it you love doing? What are you great at? What's that bigger mission or why, purpose that's driving you? And yes, of course, also financially, what are your criteria? And that's part of the business model as well. In terms of your confidence, do you actually believe that this is going to work, that this can be more than a hobby, that you can actually have a successful business? Let's say you do have a successful business, but also have functioning work-life integration or balance. I did a live on LinkedIn a few weeks ago on that topic. Do you actually fundamentally and subconsciously perhaps not believe that it's possible? So yes, you have the great success, but you don't have the balance. Or perhaps you have quite a bit of freedom, flexibility, you're enjoying what you're doing, but you're not generating the income. And you sort of think, oh, it's okay, it doesn't have to. But it's not okay. If this is your business, this is your big, actually could be, should be your full-time income, or certainly a substantial part of your income to support your family, whatever that family looks like. So your self-belief, your community, your support network. Then the business model, again, that clear vision of what you want the business to look like. Do you want an offline, what's it called? I don't even know the word because I don't even have it. A brick and mortar physical office presence and a big team? Probably not. The kind of people I work with, certainly I don't want that right now at this phase of my life. I want to have the flexibility. I want to have perhaps in fact, I do have a freelance team, a sort of loose team of freelancers who are helping you with the podcast editing, with the social media, and so on. Having a real strategic plan, having targets and knowing what you're going to do to hit those targets. And that's what we're looking at in the strategic planning session for 2023. Knowing what problem you're solving, knowing which products and services you should be delivering in order to get your clients to the result that they're after. And above all, that also is a way of delivering that you really enjoy and that is sustainable for you. Knowing how you're actually going to reach those clients, attract them, convert them, and ultimately consistently bring in that revenue that you need. From the personal branding perspective, there's that headline or elevator pitch, whatever you want to call it, the one-liner. Of course, having that online presence in the form of a website, knowing which channels you're using, whether it's more LinkedIn, which I'm a huge fan of, Instagram, Facebook, showing up there, attracting those new people, continually growing your audience. So you are getting new people into your community. It can be great to have, to nurture the people you already have, but ultimately you do need to keep growing so you're not stagnating. And having a way, as they say, to get people to know, like, and trust you. Running, for example, as I do, workshops, whether paid or free, having lives in your group and on LinkedIn, having sales calls, of course, and so on. And demonstrating your credibility and authority, in particular if you're pivoting into a new area, and really having that confidence to declare, this is what I do, this is how I can help, and attracting those people, converting those people, and building that effective personal brand platform. And then finally, again, in the work-life integration, finding a way to balance everything, right? And everything is a bit of a stretch because we can never balance everything every day. So one day, the other day, I had back-to-back calls. I barely left the house. To be fair, I had just done a half marathon. So, it was quite nice to have a bit of a rest day. Barely left the house, had back-to-back calls, didn't really see the kids because they were at nursery all day. The following day, again, didn't have time for exercise. I have since started exercising again, but I had the kids all day. And so it was all family and not a lot of work. So, it's not that every day has to be perfectly balanced. It's balanced from a bigger picture perspective. Having those really clear priorities and having really clear boundaries for where work ends and when your personal life begins. Having an integrated calendar, blocking time, and again, enforcing those boundaries. I have so many clients now who say, or people who come to me and say, look, I had planned a day off, but actually then this and that happened and I didn't do it. The first thing to go, unfortunately, especially for parents, especially for mothers, is time to yourself. And that's so critical. So that's an important one as well. And ultimately, do you have the freedom and flexibility that you actually desire? Are you able to focus on the projects you want to be focusing on, be present with children, aging parents, friends, family, hobbies, whatever it is, and say no to the wrong projects, clients, things, so that you can say yes to the right things? So again, those are the 5 pillars of building a life and business outside the 9 to 5. You will hear more about them if you are new to my community. I post about them, I deep dive on some topics, I do overviews, I run workshops on them as well. And again, you have that scorecard, onestepoutside.com/scorecard, where you can check where you are. Now, if you do want to take it further, a couple of options. I have the Business Academy, which is new for this year, but actually the year is almost over, so not so new anymore. This is an updated course with all my latest frameworks, learning, all consolidated into a 5-module, of course, course to reflect those 5 pillars. Short videos, 15-20 minutes. I think the longest as you get into the business model are perhaps closer to 30 minutes because it gets a little bit more complex. Interactive worksheet, and you can work through it all in your own time. So really comprehensive, really foundational. Whether you are just beginning and you want to get a good understanding of the foundations you need and to make some choices and decisions, or you're further along, but you believe you need to revisit some of the fundamentals, maybe you want to pivot the strategy, you're missing something, right? And so do check that out. It's at onestepoutside.com/course, onestepoutside.com/course. There is also an option to upgrade to a coaching version. That's obviously my favorite way of working with you because it allows me to give you tailored feedback. We can really work closely together over several months to look at your particular situation, goals, challenges, and again, really give you personal support and feedback rather than have you work on it in your own time. However, if financially you're not quite there with investing in one-to-one coaching, or you know what, you just think, hey, I can do it myself, which, I have that attitude quite a bit. I tend to often go for the self-paced version, at least as a first step, then it is a really great place to begin. And not just begin, actually, it's pretty comprehensive, as I said. So if you're self-motivated and disciplined, then by all means, I would recommend that you block time in your calendar, work through it, set some milestones, perhaps even do it with an accountability buddy. That's ideal. So you're working through and you can even share feedback and challenges and so on with each other. That's a great idea. So again, onestepoutside.com/course, and that's the Business Academy. And you can also upgrade to the one-to-one coaching. So those are the 5 pillars of building a life and business outside the 9 to 5. I'll be talking more next week about the new book Outside of the 9 to 5 and how to get on the wait list for that, or perhaps even buy it very, very soon. And then we have an Ask Anna episode. We have another interview coming up. So lots of good stuff. Again, if you do want to join me in the business strategy planning session for 2023, hit me up on LinkedIn, Instagram, or podcast at onestepoutside.com. It'll be a comprehensive, pretty intense session. We were pretty tired last year after we did it together in the Accelerator program, but it is really a fantastic opportunity to get on top of your financial targets, your lifestyle goals, and then your strategies for how you're going to get there. I've decided to open it up to everybody this year, whether you're a client or not. So really great opportunity to work with me. And of course, if you do love the session, which I hope you do, then there will be opportunities to continue together so that I can support you in actually achieving those strategies that you come up with. Thanks so much for listening. I can't wait to share more about the book with you next week, and best of luck with implementing the 5 pillars. See you next week. Are you an experienced corporate professional who wants to find a way to translate your skills and experience into profitable business? A new business owner who's been running so far on trial and error and now wants to be more strategic and systematic, or perhaps an established entrepreneur who wants to revisit and maybe change some of the fundamentals to take your business in a new direction? I have something for you. It is the new Outsiders Business Academy. This is a self-paced course for you to work through in your own time to learn and implement the foundations of building a profitable business that lets you escape the 9-to-5 for good. Find out more and grab your spot at onestepoutside.com/course. That's onestepoutside.com/course.